free me from the shackles of my reading slump, because I have been in a reading slump I think since early March, and honestly it's so exhausting because I know I want to read, I know I want to pick up a book, but I also don't really want to force myself if I'm not in the mood. Basically, I feel like the reason why I don't really want to read is because I feel burnt out from creating videos, since I'm doing a lot of videos which are centered around like a certain theme where I read books for that video. And I think because of that, I'm going out of my comfort zone and reading genres that I usually would not read, and I feel like I'm getting into a slump because of that. I've only read 2 books this month, which is the least amount of books I've ever read in my life in a month, and that's honestly crazy to me because I do get into reading slumps, but it never gets this bad to the point where I don't pick up a book for an extended period of time. I'm still reading, but I feel like it's been in different sections and the flow of the reading is not really nice, if that makes sense. In today's video, I'm not going to be forcing myself to read. I just kind of want to go back into the groove, and I want to make sure that I'm reading books that I'm really excited to read. I did DNF a book today, which I read for another video, which that's why I think I'm in a slump. But I'm also reading The Righteous, which is the 3rd book in the Beautiful series, and I'm really enjoying it. This is basically about the 2 side characters in the first 2 books in the Beautiful series, which this series is kind of like a Romeo Juliet, where we have vampires, werewolves, and fae. And this book kind of has like fake marriage, but it's also kind of high stakes because they're in this fae world, and you know, fae people are kind of dangerous. We have Pippa, who is mortal, and Arjun, who is half mortal and half fae, so they are kind of in this forced relationship. Not gonna lie, the chemistry between them is like chef's kiss. Like, I can feel the tension between them because they're both attracted to each other, but they don't want to admit it, and I feel like the chemistry between them is so much better than the actual main couple. I did stop reading this book because I wanted to go to the other book that I was reading for another video, and then when starting that book I just didn't pick it up for 3 days, which you may think is like not that bad, but I literally didn't want to read it. So I think with this one I'm actually excited to pick it up, and I'm excited to read it. I feel like a part of the reason why I'm in a reading slump is because I've been watching a lot of Chinese dramas. So I finished watching 𝐦𝐮𝐬𝐢, which I really enjoyed this drama, and then I'm currently watching 𝐸𝐸𝐸, but I did try and read yesterday night and today for breakfast, and I did read a good chunk of The Righteous. So I have about 30% left to read, and hopefully I can finish it either by tomorrow or Thursday. I don't really want to have like a kind of false expectation for me to read it like tonight, because if I'm being honest, I know I'm not going to. I know that I'm gonna probably be watching my Chinese drama. I have finished reading The Righteous, which I actually really like a lot more than The Damned. I really love Arjun and Pippa and their chemistry, and I did not really care for Celine and Bastian or their chapters. I read a review that said that they didn't even seem like the character that they were originally, and while reading it I really understood what the reviewer meant, because I felt like they were completely different from the original characters, and I feel like Celine in this book was so annoying. The way that she treated Bastian, especially because they're in this totally new place where he doesn't belong but she does, I just feel like I wasn't really into their chapters, and something about them kind of annoyed me. So we'll see with the next book and see if that also happens. The next book that I'm going to be reading, I picked 2 books. I started reading Wild Side. I've been trying to get through all my like 2025 anticipated new releases, and this was one of them. So far I don't really know, because we have seen Reese and Tabitha in the last book and their relationship was very intriguing when we got introduced to them, but in this one it really annoys me when they just talk about each other, like looking at their physical features and stuff like that. That's literally all the things that they mention, and it's just annoying because it feels so repetitive. Like, I get it, you think that they're physically attractive, but you don't have to mention it every single chapter. I do not want to read the way that you are describing their body or saying that they're so hot. So, like, you know, I just don't really like reading that because I feel like it's such a waste. I feel like if we cut off all those kind of lines, this book could be so much shorter. I also want to start reading Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I have my physical copy, my beautiful physical copy, so I want to read it on my actual book instead of reading it on my Kindle. I told myself I would read one Harry Potter book each month so that I can finally finish rereading it, and I think I should do this with all the books that I want to reread so I don't feel like I have to rush through them super quickly. So I started reading Wild Side, as I mentioned before, and I think I'm going to DNF it. I was considering should I force myself to read it, but at the same time, if I'm in a reading slump, like I don't want to force myself to get through a book if I'm not enjoying it. It's just a little bit sad because I liked the first two books in the Rose Hill series, but then with the Chestnut Spoon series, I only read the first book and I didn't even like it, and I feel like that is what I feel when reading this book. It's just really annoying because every single line they're just describing each other like sexually, if that makes sense. Like, I just feel like their romance has no substance because it's not really developing emotionally, and I'm more of a slow burn kind of person. So I don't know, they have this whole hate thing going on and I just don't like it, so I'm gonna DNF it because if this is gonna happen throughout the book, it's just gonna get so tiring to read because I'm only 18% into it and it already just feels so repetitive, and there's something about it that just annoys me so much. I genuinely think that books like this are just not my type of books. Like this, they basically hate each other because Reese has heard really bad things from Tabitha's sister Erica, and then there's this line that's like, I need to face Tabitha, talk to Tabitha and assess Tabitha, and try not to think about ripping Tabitha's clothes off while I do it. Tabitha keeps describing, I think she literally says that he is like a caveman or something. Let me try. Okay. It's the lines where she is like, the way he takes control is very caveman-like, and it stirs something inside me. I shouldn't like this dominant side of him. I definitely shouldn't let him lead me out of here like we're anything more than adversaries, and I don't want to turn into some simpering, starry-eyed girl over him, so I remind myself why he's so awful as we head to the exit. I don't like the way that it is written, and I genuinely think that, yeah, maybe I should evaluate the romance books that I read, because I know that this is not the type of romance books that I like reading, but I read them anyways. I have also started reading Harry Potter and I am quite enjoying it so far. It's been a while since I've read a physical book. I am like 3 chapters in at this point, so we got the whole introduction stuff, and it's really interesting because I don't remember anything. There's just so much detail that goes into the book that obviously the movie cuts out, but I feel like with me, I kind of remember what happens in the movie more than the books, obviously, because the books have a lot of stuff in them. I will say though that like reading it, it really reminds me of how small the text is. I mentioned it before how small the text is, but I'm like, what is the size of the font? Is it like size 10 or something? You cannot tell me this big page, why do you make the words so tiny? I have kind of progressed with my reading, so I finished reading the manual, which is called Your Majesty Please Spare Me This Time, and I think that even from the beginning while reading this manhwa, I wasn't really enjoying it. The plot was very slow and there were certain bits of it that was very repetitive, and I don't know, it was so boring to me. But the reason why I read it was because I thought that the art style was beautiful, and I saw that the romance, because I skipped ahead to the ending, I saw that it was kind of slow burnish, because at that point I think I read maybe like 30 chapters or something, looked ahead to the ending to see how everything was gonna go, and then I saw the romance and I felt like the romance was cute. I wanted to see how it progressed from where they were at the beginning. At the end, I was gonna DNF it, but I had maybe 30 chapters left to read, and I was kind of like, you know what, I might as well just finish it. Out of all the, I guess, going back to time manhwas I've read, and there isn't a lot if I'm being honest, I feel like this one is kind of my least favorite. The biggest hint that I wasn't really liking this manhwa was the fact that I kept checking how many chapters I have left to read, and the whole entire time I was checking it, I was like, oh, it's still so long to go, but I still made the effort to finish it. So as you guys know, I'm currently reading Harry Potter and I'm up to page 202, so I've read a bit of it. However, I think I'm going to take a break because I just cannot read this book straight. I need to switch to another book and kind of just rest and digest another story. Because I've decided to take a break from Harry Potter and to kind of go back and forth between books, I have decided to start reading 𝐸𝐸, which is a sci-fi novel, completely different from a fantasy book, and it's kind of something that I need. 𝐸𝐸 is the third book in the 𝐸𝐮𝐬𝐢 Files series, so this one is about 𝐦𝐮𝐨𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐡, who is the main character in the first book. It's about her cousin, and I think this one, I just started it and I feel like it may possibly be my favorite in terms of the romance. However, the actual plot I'm not exactly sure, but it does sound super interesting. So all three books are about different characters that kind of interconnect with each other, but this one is about Asha, who is the cousin of 𝐦𝐮𝐨, as I mentioned before, and then we have Reese. They're basically on opposite sides because Reese is part of the Biotech, which are, I guess, the organization that's kind of going around killing everybody. And then we have Asha, who is part of, I guess, the rebel, who are the original people who live in this. See, I don't know if it's like an actual planet or if they're on a spaceship or something. There's something about the sci-fi elements that kind of completely, sometimes I just miss it. Sometimes I don't understand it. I just cannot picture it in my head fully. But basically all I know is that the Biotech people are overtaking Asha's people, and they're on opposite sides, but they knew each other previously when they were around like 16 years old. We have this whole enemies of opposite side thing going on. The fact that his people are kind of killing her people, but at the same time he's not really involved in all of that, but it's just this whole, it's complicated basically. I literally stayed up last night to read this book, and it took me around 2 or 3 hours. I think I didn't end up finishing it because I was just so physically tired I couldn't read anymore. So I had, I think, 12% left to read today. I finished it, and you guys, it was so good. I think it's my favorite book of 2025, just the 𝐸𝐮𝐬𝐢 Files series in general. This is the perfect end to a trilogy, which I love so much because sometimes the end of a series can be a little bit disappointing, but I swear as the trilogy continues, it gets so much better. I loved the first book. The second book was a little bit boring for me, but I still enjoyed it. But this book, I swear, it left me hanging at the edge of my seat, or basically my bed, since I was reading it on my bed. Just like the suspense. I felt like I was suffocating because I was reading it, and a lot of things were going on, and some of the things were hard to read, but it was so good. And just the, I guess, plot twist. I really love books that kind of talk about morality, and for me they're so interesting to read but also hard to read. And this series is so good, so I definitely recommend reading it. I wish I read it when it was super popular, but you know what, I read it within the right timing. But I'm telling you guys, read this trilogy. Like, it's so good. It's also pretty easy to fly through because of the way that it is written, and because of the plot, it just hooks you in. I also really like how we have strong female leads in this trilogy. I love the characters so much. We also have romance, which is not the most important thing in the books obviously, but there is romance there if you're interested, and I do also quite like the romance. Anyways, I'm still reading Harry Potter. I'm now 300 pages into it, so I have I think around 200 pages left. Oh, it's kind of 240 pages. Because I'm kind of past the halfway point, it is getting a little bit better because I was feeling a little bit bored at the beginning, but now stuff with the romance is starting to move on, stuff with the overall plot that will lead up to the ending. I actually find Harry so funny in terms of the romance between Ron and Hermione. When the whole thing happened, he's kind of like, oh, I kind of expected it, and then I don't know, the way that he's reacting to the whole situation is just kind of funny. He can sometimes makes snide remarks, and obviously we also have Ginny and Harry, which I do like, but yeah, I will say we don't really get a lead up to their relationship. Obviously Ginny has always had a crush on Harry, but then Harry, I don't really know. Anyways, hoping to finish this book, but I do think that I am finally out of my reading slump, and it is honestly all thanks to 𝐤𝐮𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐻. This book is the love of my life right now. I'm coming to you guys with my final updates for this video. I have finished reading Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and I did enjoy it. I love the magical world of Harry Potter, but if I am being honest, I did feel a little bit bored while reading this book. The ending was the most exciting part because that's where all the devastating things happen, but in terms of leading up to that, I don't know. The book is just kind of boring, and I feel like I never realized that before, especially because it is a pretty thick book. I feel like I've been reading this book forever, even though I haven't. I think it took me 10 days to finish this book, but I am finished with the Half-Blood Prince. I will continue on with Deathly Hallows because I want to finish rereading the series, but I will say that the series doesn't have that much of a big impact on me anymore compared to when I was a child, which is kind of a sad thing to realize and to say, but I still do really love this series. A lot of things happen in the series, but also nothing, and I feel like a lot of things that impacts me, such as deaths and stuff, I don't really care. Anyways, that is the end of this video. I feel like I am out of my reading slump, which I'm so excited about. I have so many books that I've been wanting to read in April, so hopefully I will be able to get through a lot of them because there's a lot of anticipated reads and just books that I've been wanting to read for a really long time, and I'm excited to pick up my Kindle again. I will say that the book that got me out of my reading slump was 𝐤𝐮𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐻. That book, literally chef's kiss. I'm telling you guys, if you haven't read the Illuminae Files series, I recommend it so much. I love it. But yes, thank you guys for watching this video and the journey of me getting out of my reading slump. I actually think that filming this video did actually kind of force me to get out of my reading slump. But thank you guys for watching this video. Please like, subscribe and all that jazz, and I will see you guys in another video. Bye!